everyone, welcome to the new video. So today we will see top 10 scenario based Azure DevOps interview questions and answer. So without further ado, let's go. So our first question is, a deployment failed in production, how would you handle it? So our answer should contain these keywords like incident handling, rollback strategy and debugging approach. So first I would stop further deployment to avoid wider impact. Then I'd analyze logs from the release pipeline, application monitoring, Kubernetes or VM log depending on the hosting platform. And if the issue is deployment related, I would perform a rollback using the previous stable artifact or deployment slot swap. In Azure DevOps, I usually keep version artifact and use multi-stage YAML pipeline with approval gates. So after recovery, I'd perform RCA, document finding, add preventive measures such as pre-deployment validation, smoke tests, health probes, automated rollback conditions. Now, second question is, your build pipeline suddenly becomes very slow. What would you do? So I would first identify which stage is consuming time using Azure DevOps Pipeline Analytics. Typical optimization include enabling dependency caching, parallel jobs, incremental builds, reducing unnecessary test execution, optimizing Docker layer, using self-hosted agent for heavy workloads. For Maven or Node.js Pro, caching dependency significantly improves build time. I'll also verify whether recent changes introduce bottlenecks such as large artifact upload or inefficient scripts. Now, developers are pushing directly to the main branch, causing unstable releases. How would you solve this? I would implement branch policies in Azure repo, mandatory pull requests, minimum reviewers, successful build validation, work item linking, and restrict direct pushes to main. I'll also enforce CI validation pipeline before merge and possibly introduce Git flow or trunk-based branching dependency on team size and release frequency. This ensures code quality and stable releases. Now next question is, how would you design a CI/CD pipeline for a microservice active application? So I would I would create reusable YAML templates, and that I will use in our call in our pipelines. So we'll have code checkout, static code analysis, unit tests, Docker image build, push to Azure Container Registry, deploy to AKS using Helm, smoke integration test, and approval gates for production. Each microservice would have independent pipeline but share templates for consistency. I would also implement environment-specific variable groups, secret management using keyword, rollback strategy, blue, green, or canary deployment. Next is, a secret was accidentally exposed in a pipeline. What steps would you take? So immediate action will be revoke and rotate the secret, identify exposure scope, and audit pipeline logs and access history. Then we will move the secrets to Azure Key Vault, use secret variable instead of hard coding, restrict pipeline permission, and enable masking in logs. I'll also review RBAC and implement security scanning to prevent recurrence. Now your Kubernetes deployment works in staging but fails in production. How would you troubleshoot? I would compare configuration differences, secret config map, resource limit, ingress rules, namespace policy, and then I'd check pod logs, events, Helm release history, readiness, and liveness prod. So many production failure happen due to environment drift or missing secret. To avoid this, I prefer infrastructure as code and consistent Helm chart across environments. So how would you ensure zero downtime deployments? I use strategies like blue-green deployment, rolling update, canary deployment, and Azure rolling up deployment with readiness probes ensure traffic only goes to healthy pods. For web application, the deployment slots in Azure App Service are effective because traffic can be swapped after validation. I also include automated health check and rollback mechanisms. Now, a pipeline is failing intermittently. How would you investigate? So, first of all, intermittent failure usually indicate flaky tests, infrastructure instability, concurrency issue, or network dependency problem. So I'll analyze failure pattern, I isolate flaky tests, rerun with debug log, check agent health, validate external service reliability. If shared agents are overloaded, I will move workloads to dedicated self-hosted agents. How would you manage infrastructure as code in Azure DevOps? I would typically use Terraform, Bicep, ARM template. Then pipeline would include validate, plan, approval, apply. Okay, like this. How would you secure an Azure DevOps pipeline? By using these key security measures. I will give all these answers and question in the description box so you can refer it from there. So yeah, that's all. So that's all for today's video. I hope it's helpful. Please let me know in the comment section. Till then, take care. Bye.